I am just going to start in. So, welcome to the Labyrinth Society's new podcast show, Many Paths, Many Visions, with your host, Christiana Britton. In conjunction with the theme for the Labyrinth Society's annual gathering this year, Diverse Journeys on a Common Path, Building Community Through the Labyrinth, our series for the remainder of 2016 will have a similar theme, using labyrinths to address social issues. This is our first episode and will not be live, but subsequent episodes will be, and will allow listeners to live chat during the 15-minute Q&A session at the end of the interview. A list of upcoming sessions will be publicized in the Labyrinth Society e-news and on the Labyrinth Society's social media sites soon. My guest today is Dr. Nancy Bandiera, the newly appointed Publications Chair for the Labyrinth Society. She is currently a professor at City University of New York, LaGuardia Community College. And her accreditations include a BA in English and Acting, an MA in Applied Linguistics, an MFA in Acting, and a PhD in Communication Studies. She is a Veritas certified Labyrinth facilitator who uses her Labyrinth experiences to engage students both with within content-based studies, and with extracurricular activities. Welcome to Many Paths, Many Visions, Nancy. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, Christiana. It's very exciting, and I'm honored to be on the program.
Great. So you got a lot of degrees.
Yeah.
Was the attainment of any of them influenced by your entrance in labyrinths at all?
Well, let's see. I would say in the beginning it wasn't. In the beginning of my sojourn through all those degree programs, but the PhD ended up being extremely motivated by the Labyrinth in theater and acting, and part of my linguistics, anthropology studies, education. I was always on a personal search for what I just call wholeness, and usually most of us are, if you're aware of who you want to be and what you're going after, and just in the name of personal growth. And in acting, I just was very intrigued and motivated by people like Peter Brook, who saw the theater as he termed it the holy theater, and he likened it to going to a place of darkness and suspending time, and the theater would shed light on our darkness and turn it into light. And people like Jerzy Grotowski, another famous theater person from Poland, he ended up doing a lot of para-theater work in his later years. Para-theater work meaning instead of having the audience come to the theater, he would bring them out to the woods, to labyrinths, to different places, so they truly experience. But Grotowski was very motivated in theater. He likened theater, the actors, to priests, and that the theater was a sacred place where the main point would be realizing wholeness. And so all of that kind of attracted me. And anthropology, so many. Well, a particular one that I really love, Victor Turner, he focused on ritual studies and liminality, a time of being betwixt and between. A famous theater person, Richard Schechner, used to talk about the theater as a space-time of creative potentiality in the individual and communal response in human behavior. And so I was leaning very much toward seeing theater as ritual, integrating thought and action and all these people. And and my love of linguistics, education, anthropology, theater, just kind of led me into what the basis of all of that is communication. I was teaching acting, and I was a professional actor for quite some time, but my PhD in communication studies, I kind of was forced into it because the university I was working in, I had the MA and the Master of Fine Arts in Acting, which is really a terminal degree, but the professors and department chairs and deans just kept pushing me to get my PhD. And, so I just started in communication, and it focused on performance studies. And right at that time, when I was entering the program, I had seen from a church bulletin a little snapshot of Lauren Artress's the medieval Labyrinth, and she had just finished being in Austin, Texas, where I had gotten my degree, and doing a workshop. And I just was reading it, and I was taking a course in anthropology, in symbology at the time, and I'm reading it, I'm looking at this beautiful work of art symbol that was as big as my thumb in the bulletin, and I realized how large it was, and the description of Lauren and the workshops, and I suddenly realized that I could embody a symbol. And somehow I got myself to San Francisco and found myself in Veritas training. And once I walked into Grace Cathedral, I thought, oh, if Jerzy Grotowski and Peter Brook and Victor Turner, Richard Schechter, all these people that so influenced my academic journey could see this. This is theater of the highest order. And then I realized, I said, I could do my dissertation on this. And so, I hadn't even walked it yet. And I was petrified to walk. I didn't know what I was going to learn about myself. But that's when after that, I went back to Austin and started going on and on about the labyrinth. And it was very difficult to explain to professors and students. And finally, I found a labyrinth in Austin during my tenure there in working on my dissertation. Labyrinths popped up all over Austin. And actually, students, faculty, staff, everybody I came in touch with just became utterly captivated with it as well. And that is, the Labyrinth just brought together everything that I had been in my younger years. It just synthesized everything for me. Now, that's a long answer, but I've got a long academic journey.
Yeah. So what is the title of your dissertation?
Pardon me?
What is the title of your dissertation?
The title of my dissertation is one of those long titles. It says The Medieval Labyrinth Ritual and Performance, a grounded theory study of liminality and spiritual experience.
Oh, that sounds fabulous. I haven't read it yet, but you do have it. It is up on the Labyrinth Society website under resources, is it not?
Yes, it is. And I need to really put it in the form of a book, because there are so many extraordinary experiences and things that I touch upon. and frame the labyrinth as a performance study. And in fact, I call labyrinth walkers performers, perceivers. Performer in the sense that they are the ones performing the action, doing the walking, traveling. And they are also the perceiver of the work of the labyrinth. And so it is, it really was a marvelous study, and so many people benefited from it. And but yes, it is up on our resources page, and I hope you do get to read it.
Yeah. So listeners, you can go to the resources area on the, it's the labyrinthsociety.org, and under resources, and you do a search on Nancy Bandiera, and you will come up with her dissertation. And so for anyone interested in this type of ritual and ceremony and performance and how it relates to walking labyrinths, this is I would highly suggest reading it and checking this out.
And you don't have to read it from page 1 to the end. Parts of it are rather dense in terms of academic language, but you can certainly just pick it up and just flip through pages, look at results, look at the table of contents, and pick and choose how different parts of it.
So, okay, Nancy, fast forward to now you're teaching, you're working with students, you have a grasp of labyrinths, you're a facilitator. When did you start incorporating labyrinths with your students? For instance, with your teaching, I mean, how did that come about, and where were you when you started combining these?
Well, I started, I was teaching during my whole PhD experience, but after I had finished courses and began the field research, university professors tend to use students because they're an active body of subjects right there, and you have to go through approval for using human research subjects. But it really began to strike me that because my passion in teaching is not unlike any of us as labyrinth facilitators or committed walkers, that my passion is growth, personal growth, and personal growth in terms of wholeness. And I say that because the end journey is love, to love yourself and others. And in order to love others, I believe you have to love yourself. So this has always been a primary goal of mine, to find tools. And in the classroom, I unabashedly tell students that teaching for me is loving, and I teach out of mercy, and I expect not to be taken advantage of. I can still smile and love and give an F, but I am motivated to motivate my students. To unlock motivation is the key for me personally as an educator. And so as I began to travel through all my experiences with the labyrinth, the unlocking of the creative potential and all the possible meanings that the labyrinth brings to individuals or to communities, I'm just standing there in front of my students, and in all of their exuberant energy, and they're listening to music and cell phone and video and social media, and they can't stay still, actually. And at times, even when I'm teaching the college level, I feel as though I'm student teaching from 15 years ago, 8th grade. And so they cannot be quiet. And I realize that unless they learn to be quiet, they won't be able to hear spirit, hear God, hear the universe, hear higher power, or if they don't even believe in any of that, they won't hear their inner voice and be able to self-reflect upon what any situation at any given time is teaching them in the name of personal awareness towards growth, towards self-love, towards loving others. So I decided to start bringing my classes on a regular basis to the Labyrinth. And it was the first time, I don't know if we have time for this, but I'll tell you that the first time I thought, what have I done? I told them where to meet me. They carpooled, and it was in Austin at the time, not New York City, and they had their, marvelous trucks and their fun cars, and they all approached the labyrinth. This one was outside. There were trees and within the labyrinth, and the noise level was unbelievable. And I thought, oh, this is not going to work. And I just started running around, put your phone away, you can't have your phone, and put the music down, you can't have the music on. And they were so loud, and then they looked at it and they said, you want us to walk this? What is this going to do? And so I got them somewhat settled and walking, and the giggles, and I ended up crisscrossing the labyrinth, doing every which thing to tell someone to be quiet. And then finally I just settled in the center, and I just put my head down. And after a few moments, I realized I hadn't heard anything. And I looked up, and they were silent, and they were in a different space-time dimension. And some of them were leaving, and I was watching from the center. I had told them to bring journals, and don't I see them going off behind rocks and every place around these beautiful grounds? They were writing in their journals. And so the labyrinth taught me a lot. I was trying to control the situation, and you need not do anything except trust the labyrinth. So that day I learned a lot, and right away I didn't want to impose on what they were writing, but gradually they started coming to me saying, thank you so much, and is it okay if we just go, because we want to share our journals with each other? So they were off, they went to some place, a restaurant or someplace. So that was the beginning. And it was amazing. And then it became a regular thing. So that's how my interest in teaching started.
So Well, so first of all, I love that you admit, this is going back to a previous what you previously said. I love that you admit that you were petrified to walk it at first. That's
Oh, I'm just
that's
done
great.
yet.
That's great. Too many people, so many of us, first time walkers especially, think, how come this is so easy for people? And nobody says that they're afraid to walk. And am I the only one that's fearful? Well, a lot of people are afraid to walk, and it can be petrifying because you wonder. Everybody's so much left brain oriented and do, and you wonder what you're going to see. What is that minotaur in the center that they're going to have to face, that you're going to have to
Yes.
face when you walk it. So that was
In
great that
fact,
you said that.
I got lost. Um, the directions were so easy in San Francisco. A friend let me borrow her car, and it was so simple, but I got so lost that I got there late, and I talked to Lauren. I said, I just got so lost, and she said, I know, I understand. And that was part of my fear, getting lost. If that facilitated delaying my walking of the labyrinth.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's interesting.
So it does happen.
When we talk, as facilitators, we talk about the effects of the labyrinth. It doesn't necessarily have to be when you're walking. It could be days, weeks, months afterward. But we forget that the minute you make that choice to walk, the minute you make that commitment, the minute you walk out that door that morning and saying, I'm going to the labyrinth to walk it, I'm going to be in this facilitator program, you've already started the labyrinth walk. So you're getting the whole metaphor of getting lost is so appropriate, because you've already started the journey.
I know. And see, and Lauren just was so, she just said something like, I know. Yeah. I understand. And then it wasn't until much later that the fullness of her understanding, because it was what you just said. I had begun the journey, and I had gone so, just jumped on the plane. I was so excited I couldn't wait. But then I was just gripped with fear. And I am glad that I had that experience, because I can share it. And that is such an important part of, just stemming from my academic background in anthropology and even communication performance studies, that performing ethnographies, anthropologists and performance studies, communication scholars, ethnographic scholars are saying that the researchers cannot be armchair researchers evaluating. They have got to deal with the concept of spirit, of being able to get up and participate with field experience, with people. So it's essential that they are, because then they can truly properly evaluate their field work, the people that they're committed to. And so I've been through the gamut of emotions in beginning the journey or on the journey. I mean, it's been my therapy. And but right away, I'll tell students, you're going to experience a lot of things, and then I tell them that I was so scared, and what I learned the first time. And so it's when we model what we teach and include not just, it has made me so relatable to students, and my journey to becoming authentic has crystallized within all the Labyrinth work I've done. And I'm not afraid to share my vulnerabilities and show how the Labyrinth is, it's, a process. And students so appreciate that. You become very real to them. And I tell you, to get guys and to meet me on the different places all over Austin, it was like, that in itself was powerful, to be able to mobilize people to really, really get there.
So,
or extracurricular.
Yeah. So in terms of, how did you prepare? So I want to keep on track here with that this theme is using labyrinths to address social issues. And I think you've touched on a lot of points here in terms of helping your students to become more aware of their own thought processes, to going inward, that the labyrinth helps people to get in touch with themselves so that they can love themselves and therefore then be more effective out in their communities.
Right.
But the demographic of the student population in Austin is very different from the demographic in New York City. So, so how did you prepare? What content-based information did you give the students before you actually took them out to walk? And has that evolved over the years?
I think because of the creative potential of so many possible meanings, it doesn't so much change, except if I give it, let's go out for a specific purpose. The demographic in Austin was more age. There's no stigma to going back to college, even if you're an older student anymore. So that demographic, there was always, the 18 years old to the 21-year-old, but then there often were older students going back to school. However, the other demographic is that many of them grew up within some denomination of Christianity. However, not everyone. There were multiple religions, and here and there a few different races. However, at CUNY, we represent well over 120 different countries. So, and many races and many religious backgrounds or other spiritually based kind of beliefs, and in my classes, atheists who just don't believe. In Austin, there were several Wiccans, and through all the training, I really learned. In fact, one of my best friends who was a Wiccan, and she did the internship training at the same time that I did with Veritas certification training, and she was in Austin, and we had so much fun together and truly loved one another, and both parties, the Wiccan group, you have found a Jesus believer to work with you, and the Jesus Camp people, you're working with a Wiccan, but see, it was love that brought us together and the work of the Labyrinth. So here in New York, I've got this diverse bunch that I look out and I say, my goodness, I don't have to journey anywhere. I'm a world citizen standing in front of the room, reaching out to everybody. So in terms of preparing them for it, I just always address it in the name of wellness, in the name of, and I'll teach them what intrapersonal relationship communication means within yourself. And because I teach interpersonal communication, I teach this will be one of the best experiences in improving your ability to have interpersonal relationship. If I teach theater, I may prepare them with, let's go on a journey to open up the imagination. Let's just go out to the labyrinth, and we are going to be so aware of our senses. We are going to see and feel and taste and touch and hear to a level that we've never used our senses before. And, I'll give them an assignment, think about a character you're working on and journey with the character and step into the character's shoes as you walk. But see, these are exercises that I can use in any class in terms of social justice. I can give them the intent of imagine your apartment building has just been sold and they are working on getting rid of all of the old tenants, playing nasty games even, turning off hot water and beginning to raise rent so that they get people out of their buildings. And then they renovate them and charge thousands of dollars. I've had students who have been homeless because of this situation. So one social justice issue is simply housing insecurity. I feel it myself here in New York because of the rents it's a matter of supply and demand. But students of mine, there's been many times students have come up to me in the past few years that I've been here, and they say, we've been evicted, I'm homeless. We've got a lot of homeless students. And so I immediately open myself up. If you need me as a resource, I will walk with you to whatever office. But right now at CUNY, so that's one social justice issue that I want to address. And another one is like this summer teaching. With everything that happened, graduation day was like the day after the Orlando shootings. And all summer, I taught summer school. I mean, every week I'd go in and say, well, the world has changed since we have seen each other last week. They were so upset. Now, because of the diversity, I mean, my Muslim students are frightened. At this age level, 18, 19, 20, 21, in New York, they've grown up with a post-9/11 mentality right here in New York. The Black students, the Latino students, Asian students, I mean, this summer was very, very difficult. And so I started to tell them, let's have the president, every expert says we need dialogue. And so one student, I'll never forget it, she goes, all right, we'll have dialogue, but then we need action. So I immediately thought of the Labyrinth, and last year I had planted the seeds. The people that listened to me, I did a brown bag presentation of my Labyrinth research, and the group that listened the most was the Wellness Center. And last week, from planting those seeds, I was asked to be on the Wellness Center Advisory Committee, and we've set a date for, right now, I forget it, I think it's the end of November, of having a big event in the name of wellness, to do a Labyrinth event, and we're going to include meditation, breathing, and I am so excited because I know that, like my classroom that day, they needed time to think and act. And that is at the heart of the Labyrinth, because it's a walking tool for meditation, we say, but I like to use it as, and this is from my theater background as well, that there is another side of silence, and the other side of silence leads you not to complacency, but because you get filled up with awareness, with growth, with forgiveness, with love, then that spurs you into action, thought and action. And really, that's love at its fullest. And so I really look forward. I haven't, in the name of one particular social justice issue, begun yet. But as I look out with my CUNY students and see the diversity, it's what is one unifying element that I could possibly draw upon. Thank goodness my education gave me so many wonderful opportunities to be in ecumenical circles, in cross-cultural circles, and I am fully prepared to dialogue with individual students who are within different cultural backgrounds, geographically and or in some kind of subculture neighborhood. But the unifying thing will be the Labyrinth, because, as we know, it joins people. And what I'm excited about for our gathering is celebrating the common in diversity. And what is it? Well, the workings of the Labyrinth. And listening is the greatest thing that comes from the Labyrinth, because people, and I know my students, they do not know how to listen, and they admit it to me. They cannot listen. They must be doing with their cell phones, with their social media, texting. They absolutely cannot be quiet for 3 minutes, much less a 10-minute spree of meditation. But I have found that I believe that my little niche is going to be with the Wellness Center, and that is fine by me in getting it going on a regular basis.
And your idea is to actually bring a canvas labyrinth on campus, and then sow the seed for a permanent one somewhere, maybe. Woohoo!
Yes. So I'm gonna, as soon as I finish doing some immediate things. I'm marching to the grants office, and I am going to try to get a grant or raise money for one. And oh, I mean, there is such potential for the Labyrinth in every university. And I grab any, I went to the transfer department and I saw a couple of colleges and universities right on their catalog covers have labyrinths with students walking, or one student walking in a very provocative, beautiful photograph. And I mean, it is spreading, and I always end up in a grassroots situation. And so here I'm babbling on about the labyrinth, the labyrinth. And I think of the word babble all the time, bab and lab. And people just say, what are you talking about? Well, I just keep on talking about it until they let me do it. And so I know that it is going to be very effective, and I'm just really excited about it. There is plenty of room for the future, and especially, I mean, my heart is pained because the students, I mean, I've seen it over the past several years, and maybe parents with their teens or tweens can see it too. They cannot read. They don't even talk to each other on the telephone anymore. They cannot speak to each other. I have students pointing to something they received in the email. Could you tell me where this is or what that means? And there's one receptionist who says, put it down and explain to me what it is you want. They are losing their ability to listen, think, and do. Their critical thinking skills, creative thinking skills, they're being lost. And so, however, there's hope because within the higher education realm, meditation is becoming very popular. Mindfulness is becoming very popular. And it probably is for the reason what I just said, that, they see just monumental deficiencies in the students' attention spans. And so to quiet their minds, I gave in my public speaking course last week, a student she could not let go of her cell phone. She just wanted to hold it when she gave her speech to the class, just to be calm. She couldn't put it down. They're like appendages. And so, I keep saying we have to, at the end of every class, I say, okay, go home and you're going to be quiet. I give extra credit projects for time management. So, and to be quiet and think before you do any project or read any directions, because they're not capable of it. And to me, this is very serious, because at the heart of all of the global issues and hot topics and problems is the inability to listen to one another. So
labyrinths are going to so labyrinths will counteract this. This is a place to quiet, and not only to listen, but to listen in community, to listen with others.
Listen into community, yes. And that is, and I will not separate. I mean, yes, you take a friend to the labyrinth and maybe you take individuals, but it is individual and communal growth.
Yeah.
Amazing potential comes out of both.
Okay.
And
Nancy, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off a little bit because we're running out of time here. And I just want to, This has been great, and I think the information that you've given and your perspective is wonderful. I want to sort of bring it back to your new role. You're in charge of the e-news publications for the Labyrinth Society, and you are director of publications. So
Mm-hmm.
that incorporates other things. But considering your background, have you thought about what themes you'd like to see addressed over the next few years?
Well, I mean, my passion is communication. I mean, whether I'm performing a role or directing a show, the object is communication. The goal is to communicate. Performance is communication. In all the courses I teach, in communication is to communicate meaning. It is transactional, it is relational, and the whole core of what I see, whether it be Congress or your neighbors or family members or all the roles we play, teaching students, or co-worker, administrators, so much trouble happens because people do not know how to listen, to open their mind to understanding the other person's point of view, mainly because everyone is in a rush. And communication is rash and reactive rather than, instead of reacting, we must respond. Don't react, let's respond. And so, at the heart of everything that I do, and a lot of it will be writing or gathering articles and bringing people together. I'm excited about that because I'll have a chance to write something that happened, and the Labyrinth has taught me it is a bridge builder. It is a bridge builder. And so I'm going to have access to people all over the globe. Already I am a world citizen, and I've studied overseas, and I've done a lot of third world work, and now I've got all these students. So it is going to, I see my role as meeting, gathering people, making connections in the name of communication, in the name of love, and authenticity, because if we learn to communicate, to love ourselves, to love others, we can be authentic. So I hope to be, I hope to fulfill the role with the freedom to be myself in all embracing my dark and light, and my noise and quietness, my zaniness and my academic serious side. I mean, we're all full of binaries, and the Labyrinth certainly points those out as we experience so many variations of dark and light. But to live an authentic life, to love, and truly to be able to wait, listen, and jump into someone else's point of view, their shoes, and listen to their world view. Even if we disagree with it, that's okay. But to receive it. So I'm very excited about how my role, and just like the Labyrinth, I did not ask for this. It suddenly happened. It happened to me the week I was preparing syllabi and different things were happening in my life, and suddenly I'm thrust into this role, which the hardest thing has been, ironically, time. And I'm longing for a vacation, and I'm thinking, I just want the liminal space of the labyrinth where time doesn't even exist. And so, I'm just so excited to. The labyrinth really called out to me, saying, remember me through all of you. And the world can be smaller and more intimate, and I know the labyrinth has done that for me, and I just hope as many people as can come to that gathering, because we're going to be so overfed with presentations and speakers and workshops, and the site being Houston and that museum district and all of the labyrinths in and around the area. We're going to overdose. A wonderful overdose of energy.
Bubbling up, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Nancy. We're pretty much out of time. Normally we have a live Q&A chat session, but we're not live on this particular one yet. So we'll have a few kinks to work out. But thank you so much for joining me today. This has been really interesting, and looking forward to working with you as part of the communications team for the Labyrinth Society.
Thank you.
And really, it's just really great to know someone who is in the thick of it with young people, and what might be possible now with the use of labyrinths in community and in university and college settings, and how they really can. It sounds like it could be a very, very effective tool over the next, as we proceed on this path of going from the Piscean to the Aquarian age. So,
yes, we need the younger generation to fall in love with the labyrinth,
Yeah.
And we will pass it down. We will pass it down, and that's one thing that I actively want to do too, is to get young people's perspectives and send that news out via our newsletters and whatever else our communication department brings opportunities for. So thank you so much, Christiana, for having me.
All right, thank you.
It really is a privilege, and it was so great just to get all that out. I would have never. I didn't even know how well, you got me to talk.
Okay.
So I hope I talked.
Okay, that's great, Nancy. Thank you so much, and many blessings on your path.
Yes, and same to you. Bye-bye.
Bye. You've been listening to the Labyrinth Society's Many Paths, Many Visions broadcast. It will be broadcast by Spreaker with your host, Christiana Britton. Be sure to check the Labyrinth Society website, the Facebook page, and the global group on Facebook, the YouTube site, and the Instagram site for a list of upcoming dates and guests. For more information, go to www.labyrinthsociety.org. Ciao, and may you find what you need on your path through life.